111 Northfield Street. All rise. Some cells and movies with some secret building and several TV cells. And the Hall of Justice is right there. There's the Civic Center area. On the site of the Hall of Justice lie the death have been meted out of the more than a century of who's who in Los Angeles, famous and felonious. It was the scene of the country's sensational trials and the temporary address of its ungenerated criminals. Murderer Charles Manson pronounced the accommodations to be Stone Age. An early guest, mobster Benjamin Bubsy Siegel, was permitted to leave his cell for chauffeured excursions to lunch and his barber. In 1944, a crowd of Hispanics wept and cheered as a dozen Zoot Suiters walked out free men after their tainted convictions and the Sleepy Lagoon murder trial were overturned. Actor Robert Mitchum, jailed here in 1949 for marijuana possession, and the press photographed him in the obliging variety of poses. One picture showed him mopping the floor of a cell block, and it was here that the body of actress Marilyn Monroe was brought to be autopsied in the basement morgue. So Marilyn Monroe was brought right on this site in the basement morgue for her body to be autopsied. Now the site was already known for law and order and disorder long before the Hall of Justice opened in 1926. In 1870, A midday shootout left half the city's 8-man police force dead or wounded among the William Crossman wards. The city's only police chief to die in the line of duty. The killer went free in part because he was one of the department's own angry over an unpaid bounty fee. One of the darkest episodes of the city's history came on October 24, 1871, after a white man was killed and another wounded in a crossfire between two rival Chinese dogs. Within hours, a white mob and a besieged and looted the Chinese quarter, killing 18, hanging some of them at the lumberyard in Corral, where the Angelinos often did their lynchings. News of the Chinese massacre was the first that many Easterners had heard of Los Angeles. The convictions of 7 men overturned because of a legal flaw in the indictment. Hall of Justice, 1926, which is right over this way. Climbing couples in courtroom, celebrities by 1891, a new red sandstone. By 1899, a new red sandstone 4-story courthouse anchored the growing Civic Center. It stood on the southwest corner of Temple and Spring Streets on a site called Pound Cake Hill. By Americans, Loma de Mariposas Hill of Butterflies. By Mexicans, 11-foot high clock tower topped the building, soon named Honeymoon Tower, because of the matrimony-minded had to ascend 4 flights to reach the Marriage License Bureau. Before the damaged landmark courthouse was pulled down after 1933 Long Beach earthquake, Pound Cake Hill was officially named Plaza de la Justica. Justice Plaza and the Criminal Courts building went up on the spot in 1973. Behind the Italian Renaissance facade of gray granite, the 1926 Hall of Justice 15 floors housed 520 cells, the district attorney, sheriff, and quarters officers and courtroom. But before construction could begin, horses and muscle-bound men had to drag the 11,000-ton Alhambra Hotel off the site, 130 feet north. The ghostly voices might still drift down the empty corridors, and they do. Actors Earl Flynn and Charlie Chaplin from their sex and paternity cases. A perjuring district attorney. The Alhambra Hotel was moved 130 feet north to make way for the Hall of Justice building in 1926. Named Buron Fitz, the controversial death penalty case of red light bandit Carol Chessman, and the trial of Sirhan convicted of assaulting Robert F. Kennedy. Felon flight, court flight. Over the years, the inmates tried to escape by fashioning ropes from blankets and court flight cable cars that took judges to their private club. And rappelling down the granite walls, Manson dangled a wire from his cell window and tried to smuggle in marijuana and hacksaw. In 1931, Clara Phillips, a Tiger woman convicted of killing her husband's lover, had better luck with a hacksaw smuggled in a love-struck courtroom of Myers. She was recaptured and spent 12 years in prison. Judges escaped the building confines by crossing Broadway and ascending Bunker Hill via court flight. Twin wooden cable cars that climbed the 200-foot grade to the judge's private club, a 50-foot room Victorian mansion that once was the home of tycoon Louis Leonard Bradbury, filmmaker. Hal Roach rented it for one reel. Harold Lloyd comedies. It was big, drafty, spacious, led Lloyd to call it a phenomenal hall. The mansion was torn down for parking and court flight was dismantled in 1944. The gradual departure of the hall was Justice began in 1972 when the coroner took new quarters. By 1994, when the Sheriff's Department abandoned it, modern compound in the San Gabriel Valley, the Hall of Justice was left vacant of everything except the vivid past. Old county court records still around in 1972. Setting cornerstone. And right over here is where the Hall of Justice was. And now the new one is right over this way. Right there's the Hall of Justice.